Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at this vintage Macintosh Performa that I actually ended up getting for free off of a friend of mine's friend. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of an overview video for you guys. I'm planning on doing a couple of more videos on this, but I will get into that, a little bit later on. But, right now I just wanted to kind of, basically show you guys what this computer is, tell you a sort of brief history about this computer. So yeah, let's just get started with it. So as I mentioned, this is a Macintosh Performa. The model of it, as you can see if I pan down right here, is going to be the 6400/200 model. I might be able to zoom in on that a little bit better so you can see it. Let me just pan down again. So yeah, Macintosh Performa 6400/200, and this was apparently, from what I have been reading online, this was the only Macintosh Performa that was actually sold in this form factor. A lot of the other Macintosh Performas were actually those ones that would fit underneath, like the monitor, and the monitor would just sit right on top of it. I think some of them came in, some other, totally different styles. But this one right here is the only Macintosh Performa that is in this style case. And apparently this was also sort of a rebadged Power Macintosh 6400. I believe that the Power Macintosh 6400 looked very similar to this, if not completely identical, except for the actual naming scheme on the bottom there. But it was kind of like sold under this whole different name, this like whole different line as the Macintosh Performa. If you're not really aware, this was during, this whole period of time where Apple had a billion different models, a billion different types of computers. Their whole lineup, basically their whole Mac lineup, was kind of confusing to the, to the average user. So this specific model of the Mac Performa came out on August 7th of 1996. It sold for a price of $2,400. And it was discontinued not even a year later. So this, I believe, this was killed off, it like says right here, it was killed off on August 1st, 1997. I believe that that was around the time when Steve Jobs came back to Apple and killed off all of these, or just kind of changed up this very confusing product line to make, 4 simple products. I'm sure most of you guys, if you know anything about Apple history, you'll probably know that whole deal. I'm not really going to get into it here, but so yeah, it didn't even last a year. So some of you guys may be able to tell. I mean, I haven't shown off the entire computer yet, but I'm going to be doing that, a little bit here in this video. But this computer is in very good, almost pristine shape, and the reasoning for that is the lady that actually gave it to me. She said that when she bought it, she bought this new in 1996. She was the first and only owner, until that she gave it to me. She ended up using it for, probably, I would say, a couple years. I mean, it doesn't even look like it's been used that much. It's in very good shape. But she ended up just not really liking how it worked, and I think she ended up getting a whole new computer, a few years later. And she put this in a box and put it up in her attic, and it sat there for years and years and years until she, basically gave it to me. She found it, in her attic and thought I would want it, and I obviously said yes. So yeah, that's how that I ended up getting this thing, and that's how it's probably in very good shape. It wasn't used a whole lot, and there's also no operating system on this computer. I like basically promised her that if there was any data, I would go ahead and wipe it. That was kind of the one condition. Like she said, if you want this computer, if there's any data on it, just please wipe it. Just like make sure there's nothing on it. So I said, of course. It turns out that there's no operating system on it at all. So one of the videos I'm going to be doing later on is a macOS installation video on this. I believe I'm going to put 7.5.3 on this because I do have a software restore disk that I believe will work with this. So yeah, that is a brief little history about this computer. For the specifications, I'm not sure of the of this specific model here, but the CPU for, I assume, the base model was a PowerPC 603E at 180 or 200 megahertz, basically depending on which model you got. It has 16 megs of RAM, which can go up to 100 and around 36 megabytes of RAM. So yeah, I mean, pretty decent computer for the time period, although it didn't even last a year. So, it didn't really, I don't know if it didn't sell very well. I mean, I assume, like the reason why it was killed off is, that just Steve Jobs came back. But, enough talking about all that. Let's actually go around and I can show you all of the ports on this computer. I'm not going to be booting it up in this video because I said there's no operating system on it. But on the front right here, you can see that we have a CD drive right up here. We've got a floppy drive down here, and yes, this is a PowerPC Mac. Pretty obvious. Down below that, we have actually your volume controls on the front, which is pretty interesting, and that is for the for the headphone jack that's right below, and it's basically to control the volume from that headphone jack. So here we are on the side of the computer, and there's just not really a whole lot to see here. There's this tiny little Apple logo in the center, and this is the case on both sides. I wanted to take this thing apart to actually show you guys the internal hardware, but unfortunately it's just a major pain to take this thing off. It's not like a simple take 2 screws off the back and pop the side panel off. It's like you have to take the whole front panel off, which is done by these tabs on the bottom, and I'm afraid that the plastic might break because it's not really coming off very easily because I've tried to to do it. So I don't really want to mess with that because this is a very old machine. And yeah, so once you take the the whole front off, there's like a bunch of screws that you have to remove, and then the side panel comes off. So it's not your traditional way of getting a side panel off, but it does work. It's just very annoying. So yeah, that's the side. I probably spent like 5 minutes talking about the side of a blank computer case. And on the back here is where things get a little bit more interesting. So we've got I'll just go from bottom to top. To kind of make things a little bit different. So on the very bottom there, I believe that is a modem, like an internal built-in modem to this computer, which is pretty nice. I don't know if this was factory. I think somebody may have added this along the way, because there is at the top here an external modem port, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. Right here we've got your standard audio jack, so for headphones and a microphone. We've got your parallel port right there. Up here we've got your external modem, like you would plug in a modem through here, so it's got that port built in. We've got, I believe that's a fax port. We have your Apple Desktop Bus port up there. We only have one of them. This did come with an Apple Desktop Bus keyboard. I can zoom out and show you right here. This is, I believe, the Apple Design, the Apple Design keyboard. I actually have one of these. I found one of these many years ago at a Goodwill. So I have another one now. This one is not in as good shape as that other one is. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna end up using this keyboard with it because I do have that that other one that I bought from Goodwill in the attic somewhere. I just didn't get it down for this video. But yeah, there's only one Apple Desktop Bus port because there's one on the back of this keyboard here, and Apple wants you to use their own keyboard with this. So yeah, that is all that I got with this computer. I actually got one power cable. And one display cable. The only unfortunate thing about that is this is a DB15 display port, which essentially what that means is it doesn't work with a standard VGA monitor. So the display port that I got with it, or the display core that I got with it, would only work with an Apple DB15 monitor, which I do have one of those. It's just in the attic. It's very heavy. I didn't feel like getting it down for this video. So what I instead did is went on Amazon and I purchased this little guy right here, which is a DB15 to VGA, to standard VGA adapter that you basically plug in here, and you plug your standard VGA cord into there, and it works with a standard monitor. And it will also work obviously with a flat screen monitor, which is going to be great for this next video that I'm going to be doing on installing Mac OS on here, because you guys won't have to deal with the annoying whole flicker problem that happens on CRT monitors because of the whole refresh rate difference and that sort of thing. So that's gonna be nice. I will leave the Amazon link to this little adapter down below if you're interested in actually purchasing this, because it is very useful. I can say firsthand that it does work totally fine on this computer. I haven't had any issues with it, so it is very nice. It cost about $10 though, and that's the thing that kind of made me not really want to spend $10 on it, because I've spent like maximum $2 on little adapters like this. But these apparently aren't just really that popular anymore, because I mean nobody uses these for like any sort of monitor computer because this connector is so old, and it's only on old Macs. I believe it might be on some other computers, but I believe it's primarily used on Macs. So yeah, it costs $10, or I think close to $11. But if you need it, if you don't have like an older Apple monitor like I do, you pretty much need it to see if the computer works. So I'll leave this link down below. But yeah, that is just a pretty, brief little overview. I say brief and we're like 15 minutes in this video, but I'm probably going to do, a lot of editing to it because I've said a lot of unnecessary things like I always do that you guys probably don't care about. But yeah, so that's really it for this video. Like I said, I'm going to be doing, a couple more videos on this, where I'm going to be, I believe installing, I think I'm going to do System 7.5. Point 3. I could put this on Mac OS 9, and I may decide, like to do that at some point, but I think for now I'm going to stick with 7.5.3, just because it is the original factory OS that is on this thing. So yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think of this computer, if you want to see any future videos on it, and if you want to see videos like this on the many computers that I have that I've not featured on this channel, because I have a lot of them. As always, guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.